What's up, Regen Ag Nation? Coming to you on a beautiful fall day, just gorgeous out here. This field might not look like much, obviously it's been worked, but I want to pay attention to some of the tracks that we put down in here. These are tracks from an air spreader. As you get down, you can see these big floater tires have kind of come across here. And if we get real close in these tracks, and we get some light in there, we can see that some of this fertilizer material has been spread down in there. What I want to talk to you about today a little bit is just this idea of how regenerative agriculture is different than maybe traditional or conventional agriculture, and also how it's similar. So in this instance, we've got a very similar process, right? We are going out and we're spreading dry fertilizer, not only to supply the crop next year with nutrition, but also to amend the soil, amend any deficiencies, replace nutrients, which is, definitely a key factor in conventional farming. That's foundational. We have to feed these crops in order to produce the best output. That's part of what we're doing here, but what makes it different, folks, is the fact that we're utilizing materials that we feel are more responsible for the soil. They're more biological in nature. They're more natural in terms of their mined materials. They're slower release. They're going to have an impact on the structure of the soil. Biology is going to feed and release these nutrients rather than being just strictly water soluble. And one of the problems with water soluble nutrients is, one, they can be leached. Two, they can easily be tied up. We have got a lot of calcium in these soils, in these western desert soils. So oftentimes as we apply a phosphorus fertilizer like MAP or DAP, the water hits it. It's designed to be readily soluble or solubilized and released with that water. And then oftentimes it ties up with calcium and it becomes rock phosphate once again. So we started with rock phosphate, we ended with rock phosphate, and even though you might see that in a highly acid soil sample, it doesn't mean that it's actually feeding our crop. We want to utilize materials that are going to be biologically released and slower in terms of how they're released. And, these would be things like compost. These would be things like soft rock phosphate. These would be things like SOP. Now, another one of the differences is almost every conventional fertilizer contains salt of some sort. Okay, so that can be in different forms. One of the biggest problems is sodium and chloride. And not only is that a big problem at times for the plant, but it can also be a big problem for the soil in terms of how water moves and how nutrients move and, how it sets up and gets hard. So the physical characteristics, the chemical characteristics, I feel like if we use better quality materials, and at times that might cost us a little bit more in order to do that, but what we gain in terms of, we're not just farming from one year to the next. In some senses we are, but we gain a whole lot in terms of soil health and future release of these nutrients and just the building process of making these soils healthy again. So wanted to point that out today, and we'll continue to follow along with this process. We hope to show you what we can do as far as providing some of these materials for conventional ag.